Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Connecticut at Your Service. I am your host, Carmen Nieves, and we come to you live each Tuesday at 6:30 right here on Soundview TV. Today, I have the honor of just welcoming another guest that we want to celebrate for the work that they do in their community, how they lead, how they work, how they volunteer, and how they make a difference in our community. Today, I am so excited, like I am every week, to introduce our audience to the individuals that are making a difference in our community. I want to introduce to you my guest today, Mr. Albert Benejan, who many people know Mr. Benejan over at the Bridgeport Public Schools. So, Albert, how are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. It was an honor, to be here and be talking with the community.
Oh, that's amazing. So, I know that you don't say a lot about yourself, so I'm going to have to give you some prompts to kind of do that. So I know that you have been a lifelong, Bridgeport Public School supporter. But, and I think it's more than 20 years we were talking about. Tell me, how did you get into that work?
Well, I got here when my son started in one of the school, Webster School, named first grade, and I have to say, always, wherever I go, I had to say thank you with one of staff. Her name is Miss June McLean. She's the one appoint me as a PAC president for Webster School. Mm-hmm. My son was 6 years old, and from there until my son graduated from Bassett High School, almost 20 years.
Wow. And just to educate folks that may not be aware, now you are in an elected role, right? You're not representing the Board of Education today. No. But if people wanted to contact you, primarily, I'm here, I wanted you here because I wanted you to be a subject matter expert in civic engagement, because everything that we do in this show really looks at three things. One, to educate. We want to make sure that we entertain, right? So we want to have a little fun. And then we want to make sure that we're engaging individuals to make a difference in the community. Now, how many schools are there in Bridgeport?
So far, we have 37 schools.
37 schools. 37. How many kids does the board represent?
We represent around almost 22,000 children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bridgeport is only 17 square miles. Where are you putting 37 schools? This is crazy. So let's talk a little bit about before we get into what you do with the parent associations and the work that you did in the schools. Yes. I know that you are somebody that's very engaged in a lot of different causes. Tell me a little bit about your favorites and why.
Well, it's my passion. I have to say that, like I said, being PAC president from different Bridgeport school and PTSO president and last one for 4 years, it was my passion to help the community, help my parents, help my students and my staff. And then after that, after my son graduated from Bassett High School, teachers, staff, and community asked me to run as a board member because I'm the voice. I'm represent, and they are my priority. And thanks to God in the community, elect me as a board member of Bridgeport School.
Wow. And I know you've done other things other than, and we're going to talk a lot about the schools because I just want to educate folks on different opportunities for them to get involved with the schools. Your child doesn't have to go to school. You might be a grandparent, a caregiver, or something like that. So you can definitely engage and help make our public schools and the education that our children are receiving better by just supporting the teachers and all of that. But before we get to that, tell me about, I know that your passion is definitely in public schools, I get that. But what are some of the other things that you've done in the community?
Well, I help the community in everything. Whatever they call me, they need me. They need whatever they tell me. They can be on any organization with a fundraising, helping the community. We can do. I don't know why. I have a list. Whatever they need me, I'm there. If I can help in that moment, I will help the person in that moment. If not, I will find out the person who can help my community. I cannot say no to my people. I can't.
And I've seen you in everything. I think I remember the biggest kind of interaction that we had was right around Hurricane Maria.
Yes.
And I remember I went over to your office because one of my students that I was working with needed some work gear.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I walked into that place and you couldn't even walk. There were so many resources that you help collect, right? Tell me a little bit about that.
That was a very impact for me, for my community. That what happened in Puerto Rico, Maria. I call my community, I call my staff, parents, and everything. And you see my office at the Bassett High School PTSO Parent Center. It was full about donation, about dry food, clothes, everything. I'm like, where else am I gonna put stuff? You know, thank God they give me another room so I can put more stuff. You know, it was an honor for me to help my.
It was really great to have somebody in the community, because I tell you, you know that I call you all the time pretty much about everything. I'm like, listen, we need to do this. And you're like, come on. And I remember going into the room and you're like, listen, this is the families that relocated from Puerto Rico were benefiting from like clothes and shoes. And, you know, I will tell you that although we're grateful to get donations, some things just could have been thrown out. And, you know, we
I know.
So, you know, when you give, just whoever you give, just sort. Because, you know, just because you're getting rid of it doesn't mean that it's somebody else's treasure. But I remember back to school events where like collecting, you're not saying, and I wish you would, but, you know, just back to school drives, back to community days. The last one that you had was a resource day, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. And you did it at Bassett, right?
Yeah, I helped the intern, you know, the PTSO president from there, and we do a big event. They call parent student community celebration, and we do it. It was the 5th years we're doing that, and we bring a lot of resource, a lot of people. People from the college, you know, so they can give information for the parents, for the students, for the family, and it was a great event. It was a success.
You're all about information and opportunity and sharing that. So I celebrate that. I can't even tell you, and I know that you're involved in a lot of things. You're Puerto Rican, right?
Yes, 100%.
And I saw you at a Dominican event. I was like, listen, he's like, I help out, I do whatever. You know, they were guests of ours.
Yes.
You know, so it's just a lot of things that you do for the community. So I wanted to just a little bit. So you were talking about, because it's one of the things that maybe a lot of people don't always like understand, kind of the structure, right? So each schools, and there's how many?
37 schools.
37 schools. So these 37 schools thrive on parent engagement, right?
Yes.
Like it makes a difference to, what are some of the things that help when you were trying to help parents, kind of like help out the teachers, help out? What are some ways that you engaged parents?
First, when it was in the school, we always do workshops for the parents.
Workshops, okay.
Yeah. Each leader, we have in 37 school, we got our PTSO, a PAC president, and they do workshops. So when they need any kind of workshop, you know, about bullying, social service, you know, education, they can be writing, they can be anything, GAD, whatever, you know, anything we have, or whatever parent tell me, Mr. Benejan, we need this workshop, how you can help me? I said, boom, let's do this workshop. I don't mean wasting my time. I'll do my connection.
Fast too.
I'll call my people. I said, listen, I need this workshop for my community. My parent need this. So like I told you in the beginning, I cannot say no to my parents. I have to help them.
And you have like everybody's number, and on social media,
Yes.
I remember there was a legislator that they were posting about something. You're like, yeah, I'm still waiting on your call, and the person ends up like calling. So
yes,
they definitely
I find
respond.
out you had to, when I call, you know, if I'm there for you, be there for me. Not especially for me, for my parents, for my students, for my community, because they are important for me. They're my priority. I'm here for them. They ask me a question, I had to answer them.
So if you were to say, what are some ways, and not money, let's not talk about money, okay? But what are some ways that would be really helpful for families to kind of like help out in the school? What are some ways that they could help out in the school?
One of the things I'm working very hard with my other board members, and that we have to work on our parents. You know, parents are very important. You know, they're my priority. I always tell my parents, come with respect and good communication, you have a great success. So open the doors, help them, whatever they need, whatever the child need, you know, what kind of the grade or what kind of workshop parents need. You know, it's not only about schools, it's only about community. How do you help you know, you can.
How do you bridge it, right?
Exactly.
How do you get them in and get families out to engage in the community?
Helping one each other.
Absolutely helping one another. So I imagine that you're also looking at, you know, ways that they can help out in the classrooms. Like I know the schools sometimes have like reading events, or what are some ways that if a parent wanted to volunteer or help out, that are things that they could do?
Yeah, parents, they can come to the school. You know, we have a protocol, we got a policy. Of course, they have to come to the main office and let them know the principal. And when it's elementary school, they can read aloud to help.
Okay, so read aloud is one way.
I love it.
That's
Especially
great.
the elementary school, the kids of second, third grade, you see him so excited when you read a book. Especially I like book, very exciting. So, and then not only the elementary, they can go to high school, they can go to the parent center, they can help on the school, any event, they're all welcome. They
Or
can
fundraisers
fundraising, whatever event we have. Let's say the secretary need help. You can go help the
Or
secretary.
translation, because a lot of the parents are like bilingual.
We need a lot of that. So, they're always welcome. It's not ways we can say no to the parents.
So what are some ways that if people wanted to, explain what is a PTSO and PAC, and then how does that work? How does that work in the schools? So what it stands for?
PAC work as the first grade until eighth grade, and we have in the elementary we have each one PAC leader. They receive a money, a Title I money, so they can do workshops, events for the parents. Let's see, any parent, we have a list, but if her parent say, I want a workshop about, let's say, bullying, that's the more important we do. So we can start looking for the bullying. We call it on speaker. We got a lot of people that, they like to be part of the events. We do fundraising. We do free gift, food and everything.
I know. I remember your turkey bingo.
Turkey bingo. That's one of the big ones. Now parents, they're calling me already. And I'm prepared something big now for
that's awesome.
Now for turkey bingo, yeah.
That's awesome.
And the PTSO, Parent and Student Teacher Organization, that's another one. Use more for the high school.
For high school. So PAC is elementary, and PTSO is
and each high school PTSO president received grant money. So
they have a budget, basically.
They have a budget to spend it for parents.
For activities, so that the parents don't have to pay.
Exactly.
They get them, Yep. And so do the parents get involved in how they're going to get food? You would need a committee, right?
Each school, they have a PAC or PTSO officer.
Okay.
That's the president, vice president, secretary, and the member at large. And they sit down and do the event, what kind of food, who's going to come, who's going to talk, who we're going to get, to the parents.
Is that an elected, do they have to have an election within the school?
They have to have an election, have to have a child in Bridgeport school, and they have to leave, the parents have to have.
So there's criteria. So if they wanted to lead within their community, they would have to have a child in the Bridge. Does it have to be at that school?
They have to have in the school.
In that particular school that they would like to help lead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a position they don't get paid. And that's why I respect all my PAC leaders and PTSO leaders, because they take the valuable time to be in the school and help our parents. So I need to respect that.
And 37 schools.
37 schools.
That's a large population of people that really want to help and want to do. So we have to figure out ways to engage parents. So what are some of the ways that you would recommend other schools or other communities that don't have a lot of parents that come out? What are some of the things you do to bring parents in and to make them feel welcome?
Everybody know when you told we got free food and free gifts, everybody show up.
Okay, so you gotta have a little incentive. I got that.
Exactly. But we do, when you do free gift and stuff like that, we give to the parent things they can use it with the child in the school, educate. There can be a safety, stuff like that. And then we let them know, come, because this is your son or your daughter's school. We want you here. We want you. What's going on in the schools.
So, you bring. But what are ways that do you email them? Do you use a special app? How do parents know what's going on?
In my experience for almost 20 years, and I told all the PAC leaders and PTS, so you talk with the principal, do a phone blast.
Okay, so they do have the capacity to send
they have a phone blast about the school, send a phone blast by email, text message. And the leader they can do a Facebook Live, they can send a text message, they can do it on Twitter, they, send the flyer, all the time. If your event is going to be right now, I'm trying to do in November for Turkey. So I really start with the people, let them know I'm doing the Turkey. So they really call me. So I let them know for now. So that's the way you can bring parents, Not only is that the point, you give the turkey, and we say thank you God for that, but I will let them know what we have in each school.
And what you're doing. And usually when you do your event, you invite community agencies in, right? Are you doing that again?
I invite the whole Bridgeport.
Okay, so
Not only Bridgeport, I invite people from Milford, from Stratford, Monroe.
if they're going to
people that
serve
know-
our Bridgeport families,
Exactly,
come on, right?
Exactly, and anyone is very welcome.
Okay, so how could people reach you? What's a good way to reach you?
Well, you can find me very easy in Facebook. You know, I'm always there.
I know.
And, and Twitter, or you can call me at 203-534-8415, or you can email me at my board education email is Benejan at bridgeportedu.net.
So for those of you that are just joining us, I have my friend here, Mr. Albert Benejan, who's a Bridgeport parent leader, someone who's very engaged in the community, and we were just talking about his efforts through the Board of Education where you've served. Is this true that it's like you volunteered this whole time,
Oh,
right?
yes. Almost
For how long?
Almost for 20 years volunteer.
For 20 years.
Not get paid because it's in my passion. I like it. I enjoy it. And I'm here to help.
That is amazing. And you've been at like how many different schools? So as your children moved, you moved, right?
I can tell you for my son, moved from when he was in Webster School until Bassett High School.
Wow. We got a call because it's a live show. Hello and welcome to Connecticut at your service. You have a question for Mr. Benejan?
Hi, yes. I've been hearing a lot about his passion for the community. I was wondering where you got that passion and why you think it's so important.
What a great question.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yes.
The reason I got this passion is because from New York, I came from New York, but I was becoming a pack leader. You know, I was the president of the Latino community in New York.
In New York,
Yeah,
okay.
and then my son was pre-K. So from that, I got the passion. And then when my son came here and moved to Bridgeport he was the first grade. Like I told you, Miss June McLean, she told me, she see me, I was talking in the meeting. We were talking, and she said, I need you. You're going to be the next PAC president. So from that time, when my son was 6 years, now he's 22, and this is my passion.
And this is just a follow-up question to that. We kind of like on a different thing, but we surveyed like 61 businesses, and they told me that they weren't engaged simply because no one asked. Do you find that with parents too? Like, well, you didn't ask me, you needed.
Yeah. But when people they don't ask me, you know, they don't, like you say, I like to bring that information out. I put it in my social media.
No, but I mean the families. Like I've seen where they're like, you didn't tell me that you needed this or that, but meaning that the businesses were telling me that they didn't give or they didn't engage because no one asked. Do you think that you find that if you ask, like say, mira Maria, ven ayúdame, come help me, that they usually will be like, Mr. Albert, ¿qué tú quieres? What do you need, right?
It just depends how's the person, because when I do my events, people call me. They say, Mr. Benejan, what do you need? What do you want?
Oh, that's amazing.
You know, stuff like that. You have to let them know, the parents, listen, I'm here for you, anything you want, but remember, if I need you, just come and ask me.
Awesome. I'm sorry, I deviated, caller. Did you have another question?
No, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, and please keep watching, and thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. I love that. Where people get their passion. I mean, you know, because both of us are from the Parent Leadership Training Institute, and I remember I came to Bridgeport in 2000. I didn't know anybody. Just visiting the Parent Center, which is not around anymore, but that was the go-to place for families needing information and services and things like that. And I picked up a brochure that talked about the Parent Leadership Training Institute, and I'm like, I don't need anybody to tell me how to be a parent. I probably could have, because I was a very young parent. But I think it really spoke to the fact that we want to lead, you know, and we just want to create a better life for our children, our families, and our communities, you know. And that's never swayed from that. And since then, we're going to be having Melvette Hill, who's the statewide coordinator, as a guest in the future. But just getting parents involved, letting people know. I love that one of the things that you say is that they're very important. Families and parents are very important, and that your door is always open. You know, what advice would you give to other schools that maybe need to open that door a little bit more? But what are ways that you do to tell parents that they're welcome?
You have to have the passion. You have to have the love. You have to have the communication. You have to have the respect, and work together as a team. And let them know the community like, are you here for them? My phone is over 24/7 next to me. Doesn't matter what time, and I really have the experience. The mom called me that his son was very stressed. And they called me, and it was like almost 1:30 in the morning, and I show up to the hospital to help. I don't care. I don't care what
It's
time.
really taking
people
that
call
to the
me.
next,
Yes, people
really.
call me. Doesn't matter what time. Mr. Benejan is going to be there. The only person, and I always say this, the only person that can stop me and say, enough, Mr. Benejan, is God. If it is not him, I'm going to keep doing my job.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question. So I know that you give 100%, and I get that as long as I've known you. But people in our line of work that are givers, what do you do? What are some recommendations for self-care? Because we need you here, right? So what are some things that you either recommend to parents or you follow yourself that helps you kind of stay motivated and make sure that you're taking care of yourself before you're able to help other people? What are some things that you do?
As my personal?
Yeah, as your person, like how do you self-care?
Well, the first thing I do when I open my eyes in the morning, I say, thank you, Lord, for another day.
Okay.
Guide me what I have to do.
Follow faith.
Yep, and he told me what I have to do. And when I told the people I'm here, the communication is the key of success. It's the big point. If you don't have communication, you don't trust yourself, and you say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to let them know, the people in the community, I'm here for them. If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love another person?
Okay, so love yourself,
Yes.
be follow
positive,
faith,
yes.
be positive. I love that. I know that you mentioned that you had a son. You talked about one, but you have more than one.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
I got 3 sons.
3 sons. And then how do they help to motivate you, and what do they say when you're on the phone at 1:30 in the morning?
They say that they're very proud of me. They know Daddy's always there for them. I have 20. One is 22, one is 20, the other one's 19. They're very, they live the life. They're working. I'm very proud of them, and I have to say thank you, Lord, for that. They know Daddy's always around, and they always call me, text me, are you okay? If I need help for something, they really show up and help me, support me.
I see you with them sometimes
Yeah.
on Facebook and things like that. So some of the things, do you have somebody that you talk to when you need?
Yeah, if I need somebody, like I told you, I got a list. I start calling people. Listen, if I don't have if I don't have the answer in that moment for the parent or whoever need me, I say, give me 5 minutes, I will call you back. And I call whoever that person need help in my community. Listen, you know why? Because when they need me, I'm there for them. So when I need you, please be there when.
And you don't even have to ask, because
No.
you were telling me yesterday that you weren't feeling well.
Yeah.
And I must have texted you like 4 times, and you kept calling me. I'm okay. I'm going to be there. I'm like, listen, you don't have to.
Yes, because I know you, this is an honor for me, and I appreciate, everything you do. But, and I have to be here. I have to.
You're somebody that's very appreciated in the community. You're somebody that has a very strong voice that sometimes people don't know how to, kind of roll around with that. But I think we need to have more people that kind of speak and what's really going on, that you can't kind of like stray away from the things that are happening, the bullying, the unengaged, things that are happening in our backyards, of people getting hurt and killed, and how that affects families. We can't run away from that. But I think that making sure that we're providing self-care, and that's if you needed help with anything, not only can you call Mr. Albert Benejan here, who will answer the phone if my husband were to and it's hard to turn that off. When you really care about a community, it's hard to turn it off. And then we have to remember that our families need us too.
Yes.
And I'm really struggling with kind of like how much I love my job and my community, and trying to find a place in that. And Eddie Transcendent Martinez.
I know.
He was on the show not too long ago, and he's like, one of the things that's most important is always be yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that the way you speak, and you're like, listen, this is Albert. You see him Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's still Albert.
Yeah, I'm
right?
the same person. Nothing changed.
And I think that most of us that are trying to find our voice like that, it's difficult because we don't want to, make anybody upset. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
We are not perfect, but we're trying the best we can.
anybody that's a public servant, which is what you are, you're a public servant for your community, it's not easy, and sometimes you're not allowed to be like everybody else. You know what I mean? It's difficult and it's hard, but it's rewarding.
Yeah.
Because in all the things that are not going well, the 2 or 3 that tell you, oh my God, Mr. Benejan, I got a job, or I was able to help you out with this, that fills you, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. A lot. I know kids from the first or second grade that sometimes I see in a supermarket or in the mall, and I say, hey, Mr. B, hi, Mr. Bennett, how you doing? And I'm like, okay, give me something I can remember you because Pat. And they told me a story. I said, oh, my God. And I feel proud. And they told me, thanks to you, I have this. I'm doing this. I got parents, they call me, Mr. Bennett, I have this. Thanks to you, we got these servers. We got, my son went to university. It's a lot. I got a college, they accept me. Thank you for the application to give information. And that feel me, I feel like I'm a millionaire when I see family, they're very happy.
It makes a difference, right?
Yes.
What for you, other than, people sharing their stories, what's the most rewarding part of representing, leadership, whether it was through the PTSO, the PACT, or now through the Board of Bridgeport Board Public Schools? What's the most rewarding thing for you?
Well, to tell you the truth, Carmen, it's everything. It's a passion. It's coming from my heart. Everything for me is so important. Anything that can be something small to here to the moon, and I feel so happy. I feel, like I win the lotto. I'm telling you, it's a passion. It's a passion. You have to live in it's a passion. It's coming have to be in your blood. When I help the community and you see the smile of the children or the mom tell me thank you and everything, that's for me is enough.
You feel valued.
Yes.
And you can't put a price on feeling like you make a difference, and people do that.
And I have a lot of support. Not only me.
You do,
I really
absolutely.
I got former PTSO for years back and everything. They always help me. But about the way I'm going to let you know that we're going to have soon the parent convention.
It's every year, right?
Yeah, it's every year, and it's going to be next for between May and June. It's something big. It's going to be all the parents from Bridgeport School. We invite everyone from Connecticut.
Is it going to be in Bridgeport?
It's going to be here in Bridgeport, yes.
Okay. So right up here we have bridgeportedu.net so that you can find out the schedule and events and find out at the schools and how to engage. You have just a few seconds. Is there anything you want to say to our audience?
Like I always say, parents are very welcome. I'm always here for support you. I don't care where you come from, what language, where you color. Nothing will stop me to help you. And Mr. Benejan, like I say, always going to be here.
Well, thank you, Albert. You've been an amazing guest and an awesome friend and a very engaged community leader. So I celebrate all those things about you. And thank you for being on the show. As always, we appreciate our guests, our staff, our crew, our volunteers. We want to make sure that you're watching us each week. We come live every Tuesday at 6:30, and you can find us live each week at 6:30 on soundviewtv.org. Follow us on Facebook. Make sure that you're watching the show and that you're sharing it on Soundview TV. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.